Well, we're less than 1 week away from the start of the 2025 NFL Draft. And with that comes a lot of questions that the Bills are going to have to answer over the coming days. And the biggest question is, what are they going to draft first? What is more important to them? Finding a defensive tackle or another cornerback, specifically the CB2 opposite Christian Benford. Now, it's important to note that the Bills re signed Tre'Davious White to that 1 year contract the other day, worth up to $6.8 million. Now, it hasn't been made official by the team, but that's what Adam Schefter reported on Thursday. So with that, I think that was a great signing for both sides because Buffalo needed help. They needed depth at the corner position. And Trey was looking for a team that could use corner help and depth because at this point in his career, he's not that all-pro player anymore. He's not a defensive player of the year candidate. He's dealt with two very serious injuries, and he battled back very well, put some good snaps together in Baltimore last year to the point where he was covering Keon Coleman in that AFC divisional round matchup, and it felt so weird to root against Trey. So now I think this is a great mutual fit where he can be a very, very solid CB3, CB4, and then it doesn't put that pressure on the Bills to have to find a corner. They don't have to reach potentially for Savon Ravel. They don't have to reach potentially for Trey Amos. They don't have to get aggressive and trade up like they did for Elam back in the day. So I think that with Tre'Davious, you still have Dane Jackson and Jamarcus Ingram. This allows the Bills to sit back a little bit and say, we're truly going to draft the best player available based on our board. So I ran through a mock draft on PFF, and I want to share my results and go through and explain the thinking behind each of these picks. So with my first pick, I stayed there at pick number 30. I let the board fall to me, and I selected Derek Harmon. I think this is that explosive, athletic disruptor that the Bills have been looking for on their defensive line, and I think that he could be that one tech of the future. You put him behind Daquan Jones for this year, let him grow and develop, and then he can eventually take over and play alongside Ed Oliver. Now, he does have that flexibility because of that athleticism. He can play a little three tech if he needs to as well. But I just think that there's a lot to like about this guy. He led the nation amongst defensive tackles with 55 pressures last season. His pressure rate of 10.7% was second, and he had a career high 5 sacks for Oregon. So I think if he's still available at pick number 30, you run to that podium and make the selection. Going to round 2 now. So pick number 56. This is where I essentially needed to get that corner because I think this is a top-heavy class. So I didn't want to wait until round 4 because at the moment I didn't have that round 3 pick. So I went with Darian Porter out of Iowa State. Now, the interesting thing about Porter is that he's a 6-year senior, but he's only started at corner for 1 season. So he's a converted wide receiver, but he just has elite traits and athleticism that jump off the charts at you. So much so that his RAS score was one of the best scores of all time. So he was clocked at a 9.99 relative athletic score, and that ranked 4th out of 2,480 cornerbacks that were ranked from 1987 to 2025. So I'm reading the scouting report here by Lance Zierlein on NFL.com, and these are his strengths. Elite combination of size, length, and speed. And that is very important as well because the Bills love those corners with those long arms because, I mean, that's a huge trait to have right there. You need the size and speed, but if you have length, that is the ultimate trio right there. So going off of that point, Zierlein says that he possesses arm length that offensive tackles would covet, smooth athlete with easy change of direction and acceleration, long speed with well-timed transitions to phase deep routes, mature field awareness, and zone discipline despite a lack of experience, and he possesses the burst and ball skills to crank up ball production. And this is one of my favorites as well. He's a standout talent at gunner with 4 career block punts, and we know how much the Bills covet their special teams ability. So I think if he is there on the board at 56, that's another one. You run up to the podium and you say, I'm making that selection because Darian Porter excels in zone coverage. That's what the Bills run, and because of those elite traits and athleticism, he can play man when needed, but I think he is primarily a zone cover 2 corner, and that is exactly what the Bills are looking for opposite Benford. Moving down here, so I drafted Andrew Makuba at pick number 62, the safety out of Texas, because I think that this could be the free safety that the Bills would want for the future. Now, I might have drafted him a little bit high because I saw that he is probably going to go in round 3, if not round 4. But I think he is starting to move up the charts. He's starting to gain some traction. And I'm under the impression that the Bills do not need to accumulate more picks. Because at first, I was trying to trade back and try to get him in that sweet spot, maybe somewhere between 68 and 72, 75 even, get a few more Saturday picks. But then I was like, we don't really need any more Saturday picks. If anything, I want to trade up, as you can see that I did, to get that third round pick back. So I went against that and I said, you know what? If he's my guy, I'm just going to take him, because if you like him that much, then take him before another team does. So I took him. And I think that he could be the free safety. Cole Bishop could be the strong safety, and that could be the duo of the future. And in the meantime, you still have Taylor Rapp, you still have DeMar Hamlin, and I don't want to forget about Derek Forrest, because I think he has a lot of flexibility and extreme athleticism as well. So if you can add to the safety room with Mukuba here, I mean, I think that is going to be a very, very solid room. Now, some of his strengths are instinctive eyes and aggressive trigger lead to ball production, good awareness to route development as a high safety. And again, we know how much the Bills like to play that 2 high cover shell. He has an athletic pedal and transition with the route when matched up. He plants and drives on throws with no wasted motion, consistently plays the throw and not the pass catcher. He times his elevation and finds high points like a rebounder, and he's able to adjust angles to stop ball carriers as an alley runner. And some of his weaknesses, they're saying that he's undersized, he has short arms, so kind of the opposite of Darian Porter. And he also needs better body control and discipline as a downhill run supporter. But again, I just think that if you can add that skill set to the room with Cole Bishop, because when I did the scouting on Cole Bishop last year, one of his best traits is that in college, he was best when they lined him up close to the line of scrimmage and he was at box safety. So that's why I just think that these two could really complement each other well. So as we move to round 3 here, I was able to slide back into round 3. I made a trade. I called old friend Joe Shane of the Giants, and I said, hey, I would like to give you a 4th round pick and a 5th round pick, because let's not forget the Bills have 2 4ths, 3 5ths, and 2 6ths. So I tried to shed 2 of those, and I gave them to the Giants for pick number 99, and that's when I selected Deone Walker. And I think that Walker is just going to be a physical specimen on this Bills defensive line. So Walker is listed at 6'7", 331 pounds. His arms are over 34 inches long, and he has big hands as well. And some of his strengths are he's an enormous human with elite size and length. He can overwhelm opponents with physical traits. He uses his length and athleticism to play off blocks and slide laterally. He's a firm edge setter when bumped out to the 5 technique. He pries open pathways to the pocket when finding proper arm extension. Athletic feet create rush opportunities across the gaps, and expect an uptick in pocket pressures with development of more go-to moves. So Walker is that stereotypical one tech. He is a big human, a big space eater, and that is exactly what we've been looking for. Now, the only stipulation here is that I drafted Derek Harmon, and I'm expecting him to be the one tech of the future. But I just think that because the Bills need to build through the trenches, everything starts up front. And I saw what happened to the Bills, not only last year, but in the playoffs for multiple years, even going back to the 2022 playoffs when Cincinnati ran all over them. And they just can never stop a nosebleed in the playoffs. They can't get that interior pressure. They just can't get pressure in general. So I know that I didn't get an edge rusher, but I think that the Bills can still find one on Saturday. They did sign Joey Bosa. Michael Hoyt will be coming off that suspension. They did extend Greg Rousseau. AJ Epinesa is here for another year. So I just thought, I know PFF didn't like the pick, but I wanted large humans to plug on that defensive line for 4 to 5 years and say, you know what? We are legitimately starting up front, and everything else is going to trickle out after that. Because I said it last week and I'll say it again. Once you can get that pressure up front, and once these defensive tackles can take on multiple blockers, that makes things easier. It cleans the lanes for your linebackers, and it makes things easier for your corners and safeties. So I think that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have been trying to get this right for years, and I think that this year is the year that they finally do that. So there's my 3-round mock draft for the Bills. I really bolstered up the defense here. I got 2 defensive linemen, and I got 2 more pieces for the secondary as well, specifically 1 safety and 1 corner, and then 2 defensive tackles. But I think that there is some athleticism and some flexibility here. And the main thing is you just have to add to the defense. I didn't even look at the offense because I'm under the impression that, sure, I'll take a wide receiver. I'll take a backup quarterback. I'll take a running back because we don't know what's going to happen with James Cook. But I'm going to worry about that on Saturday. For Thursday and Friday, I want to build through the trenches. I want to build up my defense, and that's exactly what I did. So comment below. Let me know what you think, and we'll see what Brandon Beane can do next week.